Hola. Woo! The production team! A little pause. It's like a 5-second pause. Marky Mark. I asked the team to guess, what are we going in with today? Hey, you are looking live at what used to be the GovCast. My team.
Rexani.
Hey. A little intro. Oh, like I got to hold on. Let's finish. We got a countdown. Back in the day.
It's Marky Mark.
All right. It's the best I can pull off this morning. Hey, welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy beginning of March. The Ides of March.
Beware the Ides of March. That's the 15th.
Oh, is that something? Oh,
bad day for Julius Caesar.
That's it. You got that. You got St. Patrick's Day. We got Groundhog, saw his shadow. We got 6 more weeks this winter. So all et tu brute. Yes, that's a bad day. Yes, use in the back. Hey, welcome everybody to the show. It used to be the GovCast. I have no idea what our new name is, but it's great to have you here. Mike Danker, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, going with the hip hop thing. I'm Mike D, but I work with Same Team Selling. I'm the head coach, and my wife is the sales trainer. And we work together to work with CEOs that are frustrated, can't close enough business, disappointed because their selling cycles are too long, just overall anxious because the quarter keeps coming up and the results aren't there like they planned. So if any of that sounds familiar, reach out to sameteamselling.com.
Yes. Known Mike for a long time. We're don't want to devolve our age. We're like, whoa, too many decades. So great set of resources for all of you that are in the sales world. And welcome everybody to the show. If you saw the prelims, we're in the process of talking about success and traits, things you need to be successful. And today's, as you saw in a little intro image, or if you saw on LinkedIn, is a discussion about courage. And hey, why does it take courage actually to achieve success? Which is a really interesting concept. I don't see that attached much to success. You hear about all these other words you need. You know, last week we talked about persistence, perseverance through trials. You hear that a lot, right? But courage, you don't hear much about. And I think it's so apropos as we've seen the events go down in the Ukraine over the last. That's not courage right there. That's craziness to jump over that thing. But the events in the Ukraine this week, which we definitely want to talk about and how it relates to the topic. Before we get to that, I want to remind folks we are sponsored by i.help. And so, yes, i.help's come along, sponsored the show, which I love. If you've not been to i.help, go. That's literally the entire URL, i.help. And it does all these things, you know, as we go to the virtual work environment, all the things we have to provide to people kind of as a one-off on the bottom of your email, or when you're having a web conference, you're like, well, here's the link, and here's my schedule, and here's my link to my social media, and here's how you call me. Well, imagine if all that was on one page for you. You had your Mike Danker, Jack Siney, Joe Smith page, which tells folks how to hit your web conference, how to schedule meetings, coordinates all the schedules. You could share large files on it, all your calls, emails. And the best part about it does electronic payments, you see there on the screen. But what's best is whatever your company uses or whatever you use personally, you use that system. So i.help interacts as an API to all of those systems. It's an amazing system where literally in the virtual world, you now say, hey, you want to connect with me? Go to i.help/Jack Siney. All your stuff is there. $5 a month. Amazing app. Love i.help. Cannot encourage you enough. Reach out. And I think they give you a couple weeks for free. So if you're a little hesitant, go do it. You will find it's amazing to tell everybody. You don't have to give them all those things now, your website, your URL, your web conferencing link, scheduling, your call. It's all there on one page. i.help. Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. Amazing. That thing is going to blow up. It's going to be the thing that everyone has. You're going to, hey, what's your Twitter handle or your Facebook thing? It's be like, what's your i.help link? So get in before it's $500 a month or whatever it's going to be.
Be an eye helper.
Be an eye helper, right? And literally at the bottom of your email, you'll just put, hey, connect with me at i.help/your name. Amazing. So appreciate the folks at i.help. During the show, if you have any comments, questions, thoughts, feedback, put them at the bottom. We'll get to them during the show. But really just wanted to jump right in. And so we've spent, as we pivoted away kind of from Gov Sales, is really talking about success, right? We did goal planning the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And then really we're going to spend some time talking about what are traits to be successful. And so picking different words, again, last week was persistence, trying to get through. But this week is courage. And, Mike and I were talking, and it was just so appropriate with the world events that are taking place. And so we can be, myself was like, oh, it's halfway around the world. Where the heck is Ukraine? Why do we care? The Olympics are going on. We're like, who cares, right? But I'll just say this in the spirit of openness. My opinion on the whole thing is going 180 the other direction. And for me, one of the most amazing, literally amazing things I've ever seen, is what President Zelenskyy did the night that the Russians invaded. So if you're unaware of that, that he put a video out. So he goes downtown. Literally, the Russians are invading the city of Kiev, right? And he gets a video. I think we have that image for the production. Yeah, he puts out this video. It's about 30 seconds. And that's all his, for whatever bird, your crew, your team, your posse, that's all of his government folks, right? Those are all of his guys. And he says, hey, we're still here. And so that to me is literally one of the most courageous, crazy things I have ever seen. And so not I just wanted to beat it to death, but it is amazing because as I put on my LinkedIn and on my Facebook, it looks like something out of a movie, right? We all don't know what we're going to do when we're confronted with something that requires us to put our life on the line. And so this guy, which we'll talk a little bit about his background, literally went on camera and said, oh, the biggest dictator in the world is coming to kill me with his assassins and or army. And he goes out in the street and says, no, we're right here. Come and get it. Almost like you would if you were in a gang or like some, when you're like 10 and be like, oh, the crew around the way, come and get some. And that is the most amazing thing when he says, hey, I'm the most sought after person. My family is the second most sought after person in this entire, people in this entire country. And for him to do that seems to have galvanized an entire country, right?
I love that term, Jack, galvanized. That it's amazing that courage it is contagious.
Yes.
And it is they've seen videos about the second follower. We've seen different things, but somebody's got to be the first, right? To be no movement started without the first one out there. The second one gives him the courage to keep going. And the third one is the one that draws the crowd. And it's just amazing how that galvanizing thought, right? That we can be galvanized as a people. And it takes courageous leaders to make that happen. I remember compared to what's going on in the Ukraine, right? My story is infinitesimal, but I was I used to sell medical devices and I was responsible for sales across the country for this medical device. And we were in a live surgery and you could see the device working on live x-ray. You could see on top, you could see what was happening, and inside you could see what was happening. And on the outside of the patient, I could see the device moving. On the inside of the patient, it wasn't moving. That means something was broken somewhere, and I was the only one in the room that recognized it. And so you have to use a lot of couth in a surgery to suggest stopping. So I said, maybe we should look at that from a different view. And so while he was changing, I just kind of, while everyone else was distracted, I said, Doc, I don't think this is advancing the way you think it is. Maybe we should try a different one. So he did. Really cool. The next one we put in failed exactly the same way. And so the third one failed exactly the same way. And then finally, now he's out, and I've asked my rep to run out to his car to figure out if we've got one that's sterile that we might be able to use. And he does. And when he comes back in, it works great, right? Apparently unfortunately, there was a bad batch, and we got one that was from a different batch, worked out fine. Luckily, but in that moment,
oh my goodness,
I wanted to run away. But what's really funny is we got in the car and I said to the guy that was working with me, I said, man, I am so glad you were in that room, because I just kept saying to myself, if he's staying, I'll stay. And he just started laughing, because he said, you know what's so funny about that? I go, what? He goes, I was saying the same thing. So if either one of us would have moved towards the door, the other one would have beat us to the door. But
the patient find out? Did the patient ever know that happened?
No, nobody knows. Nobody knows what happened, right? The outcome was wonderful, and there was nothing. But what was amazing was that just knowing that somebody is in it with you can give you the extra courage to go the extra mile. And that's why they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
And because if you go fast, you're just going to get to the obstacle quicker. And if you don't have someone to help you over it, journey's over, right? And so,
yeah, this issue of like courage, why does it take courage to succeed? I think the real issue, what we're really talking about, is the ability to go against the grain. Because, I think we talked about the end of last show, the mob, the group, there's really very rarely any great success within the group. If the whole mob, the whole world is moving in a certain direction, rarely is that the place where great success, great financial benefit is obtained. It literally is the ability to go against the grain and do the opposite. And so it's picking those moments, as somebody who's trying to succeed, when you're trying to figure it out, like it's so much easier to conform to the group and go down the road. It's so much harder to be like, oh, this doesn't feel right, or now's my time, or maybe not, and go the opposite way. And so that's really what the issue is in trying to succeed in a big time way, is having the courage to, one, read the room, and it's now the time. And then two, like, what is the right thing? What is the 180 degree opposite thing that will make it go? So like with President Zelenskyy, it's like, I put on my LinkedIn, like 99.9% of non-crazy leaders, right? Forget the despots that are crazy, the Gaddafis of the world. But like, when something goes down, like when all the Eastern European countries fell, like the former dictator, like takes asylum and disappears, right? They get on a plane, they grab all their stuff, and they're like, I'm out, right? And so the U.S. actually offered Zelenskyy asylum as well. They said, hey, we'll cover you if you want to come here. And, then he had his second quote, besides the "we are still here." I think we have the image. So he says, yeah, I don't want, what is it? I need ammunition, not a ride, right? So the U.S. gets to him and says, oh, day two, appreciate your being brave, right? But that quote came out, I need ammunition, not a ride. He's like, I'm not leaving. And so that is so opposite of what almost every other leader under siege has done. It is so amazing. And again, not to beat it to death, but if that dude lives through this process, which he may not, right? That's their George Washington. That he will be the surrounding, the momentum, and he's only 44. So at 44 years old, former actor, former comedian, got his law degree, like very eclectic, diverse guy, decides I'm going to stand up to this dictator coming to my country, is so crazy. I mean, it's easy to say, hey, that's what I would do. But none of us, like, if you just personalize it right now, if you just take a second and go, I'm in my house, whatever city you're in, and whoever, forget an army, the local police department says, I'm coming to get you. You know what I mean? Most people are like bunkered down. They're going to their basement. They're getting out of Dodge. They're going to another state. For them to lock in, for him particularly, with an entire army coming, is just unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable for him to stand up and be like, ooh, I don't know how this is going to end, but I'm going to go down as courageously as I can, or maybe I won't go down. I'm going to make my stand here. And I would just say to people, that's when great success happens, the pivot in life. I think most people, if you've studied them that have great success, you have that moment in their life. They're like, ooh, I could have went this way. I went this way. It wasn't easy. It was definitely against the grain. I put all my money in this business. I moved to a new place. I quit my job. I did something way against the norm. And then it resulted in some huge difference in their life. Like that's That's what we're talking about, the courageous part of succeeding.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that say, I can't do what they did. And the truth is, I won't do what they did. And the reason I won't do what they did is it's either uncomfortable for me or I'm afraid, which may be the same thing. And so when you see somebody that did something that you tell yourself you can't do, courage is a critical ingredient to how they did that. And what's amazing is that courage is developed. You know, it's some people talk about David and Goliath.
That was my next note. My next note is that exact topic. Yep.
And when you think about David and Goliath, well, David took on the giant. Great courage. But his confidence, when David talks about it, his confidence wasn't people analyzing, oh, he was confident because he knew how to throw rocks. He had already taken out bears and lions and everything else. But he basically said, my God's with me, I can't lose. If my God's not with me, I can't win. And so he just walked in with this amazing confidence that I'm gonna have your head today. And then I just, if you read that story, it's really funny because a day later, it's kind of gross, but he still got Goliath's head in his hand. And it's almost like he's still saying, I can't believe it worked. You know what I mean? Like he had the courage to do it. But and how neat is that I didn't even think it was going to work out. Yeah. But I went forward anyway. And I really believe that's what Zelensky's doing. He's saying, I don't know if this is going to work out, but I got two options, run or stand. And I'm going to stand. Yeah. And I think that we all wish and hope that when we get thrown into hot water, that's what comes out of the tea bag that we are, right? That we're hoping that that's what comes out, but you don't know. Nobody knows until you're in that hot water. Yep. And there was in Columbine a long time ago that it seems like a long time ago. Somewhere, but horrific. We had never seen anything like that on a high school campus. And one of the little girls, she would not, she said, hey, one of the guys with the gun says, if you deny Jesus, I'll let you live. She said, no chance. And he killed her. What's amazing about that is that when the song was written about her, it said, she passed a test none of us want to take. And I think that is so remarkable that we need to pay attention and grow and learn and aspire to be like the people that are passing the tests around us that none of us want to take. And so experience is the best teacher. It's very expensive when it's your experience. It's much less expensive when it's somebody else's experience. And we have that opportunity so many times. And I think we gathered today to just see what someone's doing in the Ukraine and saying, can I apply some of that into my life so that I can live a more heroic story?
Yeah, listen, I want to say to people, there is a dynamic that's severely broken as we talk about going down this road of how to have success in life. It's severely broken, particularly, I would just say, in the social media younger generation class, which is this, hey, how do I get to easy? How do I make it easy? I want my life to be peaceful and easy. And that's fair. I think that's ultimately the desire we want to get to, maybe in retirement or in the 2 days after you've killed Goliath. There are times when we're able to, quote unquote, take it easy. But I had the note you brought up, Mike, hey, how do we test ourselves? I put in, we need to push ourselves to be in challenging situations to see what we're capable of. The society, and so much is find the easy path, find the path of least resistance, go that way. That's true. I think we're all in certain things and certain tasks, we want to find the easy way. But if you're talking about success in your life, if you're talking about being the best you can be, it's really the opposite. It's really you, all of us, finding situations where we are uncomfortable to really see what we're capable of, right? What are we capable of? And until you put yourself in those situations, and again, when we started this topic many, many weeks ago, we talked about Tom Brady for too long, right? If you think about that, if you just use a sports as just an easy analogy, when Tom Brady was in his third, fourth, fifth Super Bowl, it was so normal to him. He's like, I've been here. I know the routine. I got it. When it gets late in the game, quarterbacks that have been through it are like, I know what this is. Everything slows down because they've been through it. You're like, yep, some of this I have. And I think, Mike, maybe you could think about, I'm going to cue you up for when the guy says, I've experienced it a couple times, it all slows down. That, remember we were talking about that? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's it. Like, that's the thing. You're trying to, just want to encourage all of us to put ourselves in more challenging situations, not the easy situation, because that's where we develop courage. That's where we're more peaceful. And then I'm going to turn to Mike. That's where things slow down. So maybe in the first time you're in that challenging situation, it goes south. But the next time or the third time, you go, oh, I know this script. Been on this set before. I know it's coming. And then in a calmer, more slowed down, more secure, more confident self, you're able to execute better.
It's interesting that it reminds me of what Malcolm Gladwell says about, he calls it thin slicing. He calls it that because he did a lot of research about it, but it's assuming, right? Like people say, don't assume. We assume 1,000,000 times a day, and you can't stop it. You don't even know the assumptions your body's making and mind is making about life all day long. It's filtering out information. It's letting some stuff through. It's all based upon educated assumptions. And so the way the complex slows down is we need to stop saying, don't assume, and learn and refine the process so that we assume more accurately. Because that's what the great people do, is they assume more accurately than most people. And when you can do that, then what does Tom Brady do? Well, he assumes more accurately and significantly faster than most people. And so it's not trying to stop that from happening. It's trying to harness what is going to happen, right? Yeah. It's like saying, you can't tell, everybody tells a story about everything that happens in their life. Well, that's all assumption. There's very few facts in the story that we develop. It's just a bunch of facts tied together, filled in with assumption. Yeah. And so as we talk about how do we get better at navigating, right? Like courage, right? Basically, we have to read that situation and say, is my best move to stand? Or somewhere back in our amygdala, is our best move to run, right? Fight or flight.
Fight or flight, yeah.
And so it was put into our basic programming. And so in that programming, we have to analyze, and we can override it. And I would say the president of Ukraine right now is overriding his programming.
Oh,
there's a thing in the back of his head saying, come on, easy way out. And he says, and he basically said in a way, listen, this is something really challenging. This is something really big. There is no easy button. Yeah. There is no flight out. There is no, because if I bail, I'm leaving the people I told I would represent. And so he's showing great courage in the fact that he's owning his commitment.
And not only that, his family, I'll just say, as a guy who was single till I was 32, I was places that were unsafe, in the middle of Tijuana, Mardi Gras. When you're young and you're like by yourself, you're like, yeah, I'm good. I got me. As soon as you add a loved one next to you, then it has a whole different dimension. You're like, oh, maybe I'll do the right thing. Maybe I'll take a bullet. You talk about your wife, and I think he has 2 kids. Then you're like, it's a whole different level. But in the when we talk about courage, kind of like last week, went and pulled the definition off the Google machine, right? So what are we really talking about here, right? The ability to do something that frightens one. I think that's normal. We all hear that. But strength in the face of pain or grief, that to me, I think is really what we're talking about. It's like, hey, do us people, when confronted in the moment, will we do the right thing? And so I would just say one other thing, sidebar, not directly related to this topic, but this applies to all parts of what we're doing, because people talk about success in their career and their work life and finances. But just to flip the script for a second, this also applies, listen, in our personal life, because this thing, you could have the best career going, it all great. And if you make a mistake in your personal life, again, confronted with the situation, maybe not having the strength to get out of it, it can go down really quick. It's like, there's that saying, like, great careers are ruined in 1 hour at a company party, right? If you indulge too much, do something, say something. I as a sports fan, when we see our favorite athlete in the news, it's always Dateline 2 a.m. You know what I mean? As soon as it says that, you're in trouble, and it's like, oh, here we go. And so nobody gets ready. No one gets. I always say this. No one gets ready to start the night and go, tonight gonna wind up in jail. You know what I mean? No one does. No one goes, getting dressed. Don't I look good? Because tonight I'm gonna be at the police department. So I'm gonna do something really stupid 5 hours from now. And so just encourage folks, not only just courage, talk about in your career, doing 180. It also is in your personal life, the ability to, like, ooh, when everyone's like, oh, I'm going to this thing and we're gonna do this. So we should go here. Like, ooh, do you want to be successful, honorable, whatever, more than you want to go have fun the next 12 hours? I don't know. Like, there is a time and a place for everyone to go let loose. God bless. Certainly did that for 30 years of my life, right? But there's also a time, hey, when are you going to draw a line in the sand and be like, ooh, I'm going to really get serious about my career now. I'm going to get serious about my personal life. I'm going to get serious about maybe whatever your passion is, whether that's, ministry or some volunteer effort or whatever those things are. I'm going to get serious about a loved one that maybe is going through a health issue. That the courageous part applies to your career, our career, and our personal lives as well. The ability to have the strength to deal with the things that the world puts in front of you that look so attractive, right?
Yeah, man, it's so interesting when you talk about that because, first of all, I have a very good friend, Jim Denman. I met him. He was in stage 4 cancer, and I didn't get to know him very long, but he was the light of the room. So he embodied, as well as you can embody, facing death well, and I would even say with joy. He was remarkable. And then I actually got a chance. I didn't know him as well, but I got the chance to spend some time with a fellow who had Lou Gehrig's disease. He had ALS.
You got a lot of health stories today.
And I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends, and so if I have a lot of friends, the odds are that. But he actually was a surgeon, lost the use of his left hand, and kept doing surgery with his right hand because he was ambidextrous until he couldn't do it. Then because he was trying to avoid it, but then one day he just embraced it. So listen, I got to let everybody know I've got this, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it alone. I want to do this with my friends, with my family, with my coworkers. And he signed up for things that were so amazing. I met him in the middle of a course that was a 9-month course, but the average life expectancy of ALS of people with ALS after the diagnosis put him in the first third of the course. Yeah. And we're like, why are you signing up for a course you're probably not going to finish? He goes, I'll die smarter. We actually, here's what's really interesting. I think we think we're worse than we are in a lot of those situations. We won't know, but I don't think I would perform as well as my friends have in the face of those things. But I do want to, and I don't want the opportunity to see.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting. But you talked about it, Jack, that it's these challenges that we have to sign up for. We have to sign up for some of them, because if we don't, we're going to go with the flow. And very few people are happy with the way the flow is going.
Yeah.
And if everybody's going with the flow, most of the people in the flow are doing it accidentally. They're doing it thoughtlessly. They're going, it's just easier to go along than think about it. It's definitely easier to go along than to take a stand. And that is so true. And here's what's interesting is that when you do take a stand against the flow, man, because the flow is still coming at you. The flow is going right. You're standing against the flow now, not sort of outside the flow. Now you're standing against the flow. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to make the decision. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to withstand the oncoming flow now. And then here's what's really great is the resistance of the flow lessens because some of the flow thoughtfully joins you. They just like my friend stood with me in that surgery that day.
I'm just going to say that.
Right? Just as he stood with me. Well, sometimes when you're standing, somebody else is going to go, you know what? I don't want to go this way either. I just never thought of disrupting the flow. Well, he already did it. I'm just going to join him in disrupting the flow. I'm just going to join her in disrupting the flow. I remember my daughter, Madeline, my oldest, when she was in high school, I used to say, listen, don't go with the flow. Just think about whatever's going on and do what you think is best. Just do that, right? Just do what you think is best. And so she came home one day complaining how lonely that was.
Yeah.
She felt kind of lonely trying to do what's right all the time. And I thought, that conversation didn't finish anyplace great. I was like, I didn't really have a great answer for her. But then one day she came home and said, Dad, you were right. What was that about? And so she goes, I left a situation I knew I shouldn't be in. And most of the girls that were walking into it with me turned around and walked out with me. It went from 6 to 2 walking in the wrong direction.
Wow.
And I thought, well, that's amazing. And I was so thankful because she learned about herself and she learned that courage is attractive.
Yeah.
Right. It just is. And so
that's where the whole theory you hear, the two things, like doing the opposite, the Seinfeld thing, huge little secrets of success, doing 180, that's the easy Seinfeld, 180. And that thing we hear about, like, what is it? Success is lonely, or, it's lonely at the top, is based on that theory that when you're the first one to do it, it can be, right? It's, when the people I've seen have great success are normally running either on their own or in a much smaller group than the super popular person over there, It typically doesn't end well, right? And that's just a real thing. It's it comes to mind, right? It's not even I'm saying it. Like, people are like, well, the superstars are all super famous. Okay, well, I don't know, pick Kim Kardashian, whatever you think super successful. Well, I think she's on her 4th marriage, 5th marriage. Like, when the camera's off, that may be never for her, actually. She has to lay there and look at the roof and be like, am I really happy? And so what we're trying to do really with the LinkedIn Live is really talk about what's real success and creating peace in your soul. So again, when your head hits the pillow, you have true peace, right? That's what it's about. Success, it's not necessarily, we're not talking about necessarily the money, could be, the career, could be your hobby. Maybe it's being the best parent, best kid, whatever it is, wherever you are in life. But it's not necessarily about the money. It's about when you put your head on the pillow, you're super peaceful. Mm-hmm. That's what we're striving for, right? It's like, no knot in my stomach. I'm not up all night. I don't need to take some sleep, medicine to help me go to sleep. I'm good. That's what we're talking about. The success we're trying to get to is when you put your head on the pillow, you're good.
It's amazing what you just described, Jack, is congruency, right? That you're congruent. You are close to alignment with who you are, right? You are close to alignment in the way you're living and what you're doing with who you are. Yeah. And if we don't sit around and if we don't stop and contemplate who we are as individuals, we just live out of alignment. And we're not quite sure why we always feel out of alignment. So it is a critical exercise to decide and realize, who are you? What is right and wrong to you? And I'm not going to tell you that you don't have to match with my right and wrong, but you need to decide what's right and wrong for you. And then that's going to define your path. And then you just have to stay on that path, because that's what you were created for, was to walk the path you were created for. And so when you're not sleeping at night, you're letting somebody else design your path. Yeah. You're letting somebody else design your path. You're letting somebody else tell you where the path goes. And you're like, this just doesn't feel right. I can't really call it wrong. It just doesn't feel right. Well, right, because it's not your path. We've got to evaluate. And because listen, if I know where I'm supposed to stand, I'm more likely to have the courage to stand there. Yeah. But if I'm not deciding on what I stand for, well, then I will just literally fall into the flow.
Yeah, I want to give folks two things as we kind of wrap the show, which is like, hey, how do I know? When do I know to like I've gone too far, or when to be courageous? I want to give folks two things: one controversial, one not. So I'll give you the not controversial first. Listen, in your career, just encourage you. This old management adage: folks are typically promoted one level above where they should be. Right? And I say that there's this thing like, because you don't know you're in over your head. Do you get there? You're like, oh, I'm in over my head. And then typically people's career, they level out. So encourage everybody, if it's in your career life and somebody offers you a job, offers you a promotion, gives you an opportunity that's more money, more responsibility, take it. Take it. Like, just take the challenge. You feel like you're in over your head, go. Right? Especially the younger you are. Go, and like, you'll figure it out. And maybe you're in over your head the first time, and the next time it comes, you're ready. But the fear, lack of courage to go, I'm not sure, I don't want to do it. Take the thing. Just take it. You'll figure it out as you go. You'll either learn a ton or be like, oh, I'm in over my head. And you'll be like, oh, that's not what I want to do. So on a business side, encourage you, like, take it, and the world, your organization will figure out if it works, or you will grow into that role. And then there's another step for me. Well, there's another step. So please, when offered that opportunity, take it. That's one. And the other one, more controversial, not to turn this into a theology lesson, which is, I'll just say this as somebody who walked in the world for 32 years and got saved afterwards. When you get your faith life organized and realize that there is a God in heaven who has a great plan for your life, Jeremiah 29:11, has a plan for you, it really helps you sleep at night going, I have an earthly father, right, who hopefully, God willing, loves you and treats you well and is involved in your life, loves me. Then you have a heavenly father that tenfold has a plan for your entire life. Knowing that and be able to seek that guidance, prayerfully look for him to maneuver you through life, I will just tell you, helps you put your head on the pillow in a more peaceful way. Because you're like, oh, God in heaven, amazing, has a plan for my life. My job is to try to dial in, listen, and execute on that plan as much as possible. Those are the two things to keep you from that. I think our production crew did that. I'm going to jump across the canyon. Don't do that. That's scary. But when you're thinking about, is this the right move for me in a relationship, career, some big financial decision, knowing that you have a Father in heaven that loves you and a great plan for your life, and seek his guidance will, again, provide you great courage and great peace. So I offer those two things to help folks as they're trying to assess, hey, when do I take this courageous leap? When do I tell a dictator of the world, come and get me? You got to feel very confident, or at least as exterior-wise as you possibly can in that scenario. So,
Jack, if I could just pile on the more controversial one, that it says in the book that I'm his workmanship. I was created in his Son to work out plans that he made beforehand that I should walk in them. I'm special. I was designed. I was created with a plan.
Yeah, I know.
Too many people don't believe that's true about they just can't even, like, what's my purpose? What's my role? It's big. It's big. And it was designed. And here's what's so great about it. The plan was designed, and then you were designed for it. It's just so awesome. Yeah. And just, you were made on purpose for a purpose. And so if everybody walked away today with just that, mission accomplished.
Yeah, listen, this idea of courage and picking your time and moment is so important. Literally, it's almost impossible to get there. I don't know who you have seen have great success, or maybe ideally someone in your circle has experienced or had great success. When you talk to them or watch their story or watch their bio or watch some documentary about them, rarely does anyone get there peacefully without taking some real risk, real challenges. And so that takes great courage. It only looks easy after the fact. I just want to say that. It only looks easy. Oh, you don't understand because you already have it. Well, no, almost everyone that's been there was at that moment of inflection. And they're like, if you only knew. And that's why sometimes those are the best mentors, because you're like, well, I've been where you've been. I've been where you are. Here's the bumpy road. And, the 80-20 rule, the 20% that have had great success, it's like in that moment, they were able to make that courageous decision. So please do not discount it, and encourage you to take small courageous steps, like, whatever, going to talk to somebody, doing something out of your comfort zone, taking on a new challenge. As Mike said earlier, courage can be worked on and experientially developed. And so encourage you to do that, encourage you to work on your courage, because it does take courage to succeed, undoubtedly. It only looks easy once it's been done, right? No one sees all the time and effort and all the little steps in the middle. Amen. Any last words, Mike? I don't want to end with you. Anything?
I just remember that when I was a kid, I used to lie my way out of trouble. When I was in college, I used to drink my way out of trouble. And now I have the courage to face life sober and truthfully. And I
drink faithfully.
It's just so crazy that it takes great courage to live life fully and fully engaged. And I just think about how I used to try to deal with life, and now I face the challenge of living all in.
It's really good. That's that's an upcoming show. We will talk about what you're doing in your personal life. So love that. Lie, drink, and faithful. That's a good little wrap up right there. So cool. Hopefully this helped folks. Just nothing. I don't think we talk about anything that's crazy. Just want to start to put some foundational pillars in people's lives that are solid and foundational, that the world kind of poo-poos. You go, oh yeah, you gotta have some courage, you gotta be persistent, and like being able to share that and talk about it in maybe a more in-depth way. That's really the goal. So just want to, as we go out, just want to remind folks, I.help, encourage you to go sign up, $5 a month, all of your online stuff in one spot. Amazing resource. Everyone will have it, and then you'll be irritated, like in Twitter, when you don't have your right Twitter handle. Go get your I.help handle, so it's super simple. You don't have to put like Mike the Great or Billy, like go get your name on I.help, $5 a month. You're gonna want, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna go best $5 you'll invest ever. So cannot recommend that enough. Thank you everybody for your time. Publicly, just prayers go out to the nation of Ukraine. What President Zelensky's doing is sick. It is amazing. That dude, just amazing. If you have some free time, you should go Google his name. He's got when he was an actor and a comedian, he's got some things online. He was on like Dancing with the Stars for Ukraine. And to see him now stand in the middle of the city with a gun and rifle, for me, one of the most inspiring, crazy, real world things going down, and just wish and bless his process and hope for the very best for him and his country. And if you have the wherewithal to reach out, help, donate, and support, and prayerfully consider that nation, it would be amazing. So it will be an ongoing thing that we as a world will watch. So till next week, see you all then. God bless. Stay safe. Mike, appreciate your time and energy. We will talk to you soon. We're out.